So here we are. You were assigned here out of SEM, and you have been here ever since. And now we're in the process of calling people, but what we're hearing right now is that pastors, especially younger pastors out of SEM, 4 years or whatnot, they're getting calls every 6 months for like 8 years unless they take a call. You get here 30 years ago. I'd love to explore a little bit about what you were doing. What were you originally called to?
Out of SEM, I was doing youth and family ministry.
What did that mean back in, if this is 30 years ago and this is 2026, so 96, what did youth and family ministry mean?
It's 30 years, it's hard to remember sometimes. Coming in the heels of Joel Nelson was doing youth and family ministry for a while.
Oh, yeah.
In our youth ministry, it was fairly vibrant. We had a junior high ministry, JYF. We had a senior high ministry, SYF. So we would do weekly Bible studies, but just a lot of fun activities. Those are years I will cherish for a long time. Overnight retreats at the YMCA, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Those
So
days,
was
those
it
days
still
when I could still stay up all night.
I was going to say, this was the lock-in era of
Lock-in
youth group.
era, yes. We would do retreats. We go to Timberley and we'd have a weekend retreat with 90 junior high kids.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yeah, I learned some interesting things. I remember the female chaperones in one of our retreats. That's where I learned that not just men pass gas. So I'll never forget that day.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Maybe we back up just even a little bit further. Were there pastors in your family? How did you get into pastoral ministry?
No, I come from a family of farmers. Everyone was a farmer, probably for generations,
Oh,
right?
boy.
It's not the most exciting story, but when you're at that age, at the end of high school, what am I going to do with my life? And there's a lot of kids that have no idea what they're going to do, and that was kind of me.
Okay.
I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was thinking for a while about music education.
Yeah.
And it actually even applied to UW Oshkosh.
Oh, okay.
And then shortly after that, I remember sitting in church. We have a little country church that I went to with a white altar, right, on both sides of these big paintings. And the one that's really traditional with Jesus, and he's praying, and he's next to this rock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that one.
Gethsemane one. Yeah.
And the pastor was preaching, and I probably wasn't really paying much attention to that, but that I was fixated on that picture, and all of a sudden, it's like this, almost this voice. It's like, well, what, why didn't you come be a pastor? And I knew nothing about what that even meant at that point in time. I went and met, I think even that afternoon, I think it was that very afternoon with the pastor, because it was just like burning, do it, right? And that's when I found out, oh, this is what it means, this is what it takes. So that was the beginning of the journey. What's interesting is that church, though, I think small country church, I think like 7. I was one of the last ones, but before me, 7 pastors came from that one congregation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's something about that Jesus painting.
So I think the painting, the Jesus painting. But I also think it was just the culture, the love of Christ and ministry. When my grandparents found out that I was going to study to be pastor, it was just like they just lit up, right? My grandma would always have a pail full of cookies that she'd send with me every time I came home, right? No one else in the family got that, but I did, because I was studying to be a pastor. But yeah, my great-grandfather, I got his Bible, old German Bible, and that's when I found out that he had been the president of the congregation, and that's when he got that Bible. He had done that for many years. So the love of Christ, the ministry, sharing the gospel, has been in my family for a long time.
That's cool. So yeah, you go from being farmer to becoming a pastor. Instead of shepherding pigs and cows, you're shepherding junior high kids.
Yeah.
90 of them, passing gas, along with all the best.
A lot of similarities, some differences, yes.
So many of us here know you through the arts. I think that's one thing that you bring right away is just your love of art. You mentioned painting as an influence there. Where did your love of music come from?
I think it's always been there. as long as I can remember. I remember as a little boy singing in choir and just absolutely loving it. I remember wanting to play the piano desperately. And my parents are like, well, we don't have a piano. We don't have money to buy a piano. So when I was in high school, I took care of that all myself.
Really?
Yeah. Always in music and in school and in high school, it was always a big thing for me. I'm very eclectic. I was listening to everything from Chicago and those sort of things. Yeah. But somewhere along the line, all of a sudden remember those days when you could actually order cassette tapes? You spent a penny and they sent you 30, right? Yeah. I got in this classical thing and I was ordering all this classical music. And my parents are wondering, what is wrong with this kid?
Usually they're going
loud classical music is coming out of my room. So, strange child.
Yeah, well, the eclectic piece of things, I appreciate that. And how many instruments are you now up to playing at this point?
Play the piano, the bass, and the viola. Besides vocal's always been my greatest love. We
were talking off here just about some of this conversation and kind of breaking it into some different spaces. I am curious about the seasons of ministry, because obviously some of the people, many of the people who were here when you first got here are already graduated to heaven, and we'll be waiting to see them. So not a lot of people may know the younger Jeffrey and what all that you did. Maybe talk a little bit about the seasons of your ministry from the time that you were called here to the time you got into the counseling piece of things.
Beginning with that youth and family ministry. And just trying different things to see what would happen. So, a lot of focus on, like I said, the events with the kids, but also thinking about family ministry and how to bring families together. So, during that season, one of my favorite events was the family campout, which we had done for many years. Sometimes we could have maybe 50 different families.
50 families?
Yes, showing up at that family campout. Again, just a lot of fun. You bring people together, talking. We'd play fun games. We'd have a worship service on Sunday together and that sort of thing. In that season too was, I did a lot of family seminars. So we'd have an all-day seminar, and we'd bring in speakers and talk about family issues, which I really enjoyed. The marriage retreat was another fun one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I always have fun stories about the marriage retreat. So one of the things on the marriage retreat was date night, right? So we forced couples. I remember some couples would say, "Oh, wow, we haven't been on a date since we had kids,"
right?
Which has been 15 years or whatever. But there was a couple about 9 months after the marriage retreat. I had a little baby, but it's one of those caboose sort of things. All the kids were in high school, and all of a sudden, So
all because of the marriage retreat.
All because of the marriage retreat. Yes.
You forced them to a date, and they had children instead. That's awesome.
You can thank me for that. Yes. But yeah. So there's that season, and from that season, I would say they call the next season the school season, and so my kids are all in school, very involved in that, and that's when I think I went. The person who was teaching Spanish here took a call.
Okay.
And I said, I've been always interested. I love language, right? So then I had the opportunity to teach Spanish in the grade school for several years. So that was quite a
Did you
learning
know Spanish
experience.
Before that? We were talking about this before. Did you know it, or did you learn it?
Sí, señor. In high school, right?
Yeah.
I had 4 years in high school and maybe 2 or 3 in college. So yeah, and then of course the theater musical, that whole era, it was interesting because I remember how many did we do, and it's probably at least 12 or 13 in that run. To me, that was such a joy because I love musical theater, and to be able to bring these kids into that and help them succeed
See them come to life
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a new way.
And it was really cool. Then, of course, you see them go into high school, and then they're in the musicals there, and the leads and things like this. And they come back and say, "Oh, I'm so grateful that we had that opportunity early because it really helped me." Yeah. Same with Spanish. I had kids come back later and say, "Thank you for that because it just helped so much in college and whatever their career was."
Were you teaching confirmation in the school too, right off the bat when you got here?
Yeah, I taught confirmation that whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely loved it.
So, when did the worship, the additional worship details, kind of get put to you? Was that something that you were
Somewhere in
pulled
there.
into, or just kind of that add-on, or
Yeah,
just kind of
and
grew
again, I
that
think
way?
it was another thing that I loved, and I sort of said, "Hey, I'd be willing to do more of this," and so I started. I think with just doing a little bit more of the worship planning, being part of that segment, and then my mind is always thinking about, oh, what else? What's next, right? And that's when we started talking about the contemporary service. And we began with a Sunday night contemporary service, and I look back and think, oh my goodness, it wasn't so good, but it was a start, right?
Yeah, right. You got to start someplace.
Compared to where we are now, it's just night and day. But that's where that idea came, and
Were there other churches doing that? Had you followed a model, or had you just kind of heard about it?
No, and we began the way like many churches do, like, okay, we'll have a contemporary service once a month or something like that. Yeah, where it doesn't really take off because of that. But yeah, and then it just I'm amazed at where we have come. Yeah. All that time, I also did counseling. That was another thing that I really enjoyed. And the other staff members are like, you enjoy this? You go for it, right? So I've been doing that for quite a while. And that's really when this idea came into my head, like, wow, there's really a profound need here. And I don't know what I'm doing half the time, right? So my first thought, okay, I'm gonna bring somebody professional in. Yeah. And I tried to do that probably for at least over a year and a half, and you just couldn't find any professional Christian counselors who were in the area available. It didn't work.
Right.
So as we were talking on the team, it's like, well, maybe I'll go back to school, and this will help us start it. And that was the beginning of this journey, this path that God really opened up, that now is taking me in this direction. But it truly is a path. As I think about how God placed everything just in the right place at the right time. I graduated just around the time of the pandemic.
Right.
We were worried, it's like, wow, am I going to have people to counsel? And within 2 weeks, I had no space left, and been growing in it ever since, and ready to see what's next.
When you began then as youth and family minister, was there counseling duties that were given to you right out of SEM? I imagine that's kind of got to be a challenge if you were out of SEM and then given a counseling responsibility at 26, 27. But did you have some level of counseling then that you've been doing this whole time?
No, you're just kind of thrown into that.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it's a long story to what got me into the counseling, but it's basically there was a member who needed some counseling, and that situation was very challenging. Probably taught me the most.
Yeah.
And at the same time got me the most excited about trying to help people.
A lot of pastors get a lot of calls, especially when you kind of hit that prime space in your 30s where you've got some experience. And there's some nice calls, opportunities to be able to branch out, do your thing. You've stayed here this time and have been such a strong fixture in so many things that happen here. What caused you to stay?
Yeah, and I would say maybe over the course of those 30 years, was it 6 calls in all? Okay. Yeah. But every time it just felt like there was still more to do here. God had a plan for me. Yeah. And then, and then we had this team that have been here together so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to leave.
I was going to say, that's a very rare thing to basically have you guys,
3 guys together for 30-ish years.
yeah, being a part of the team. As you look out into the future, maybe talk a little bit about what your dreams are in the counseling world, in the work that you're going to be doing.
You know what I've discovered, through this process. I knew there was a need.
Yeah.
But what I've discovered in this process is that need is overwhelming, and that there's so much stuff going on in people's lives under the surface that really keeps them from either truly enjoying and marveling in the gospel and the love of Jesus Christ, or keeps them from being able to serve. I guess what's become, what I saw at St. Paul's, now I realize this is a bigger church thing.
Yeah.
And that is why I see this call being something that God is saying, hey, this is the next step, right? Helping not just St. Paul's, but thinking about the church, synod, being able to find ways to be more aware of these mental health issues, to be more open in encouraging people to seek help. Yeah, you're not alone. You're not the only one. And then how do we truly get that help to these people at all different levels? Not everyone is going to see a professional counselor, so there needs to be other ways to also connect people. So I see this moving from St. Paul's and getting us to a place where I think we've grown a lot and are able to do a lot to help people. A lot more I'm sure we can do, but just expanding that.
Is mental health at a crisis today because it's different today, or has this been simply, quite frankly, it's been here this whole time, but you would never talk about it? You just have a drinking problem or a drug problem or an anger problem, and we just tolerated that portion of things and just say, well, that's just that person. Do you see a big change in the amount of mental health need, or was it the same but now it's recognized before it wasn't? That's curiosity question number one.
I think there's some of both of those, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I do think it's always been there, but there's we just kind of push it down, the stigma, the embarrassment, or whatever of these types of issues. Especially when the church looked at it more as it's a faith issue. If you've got a mental health problem, it's a faith issue, right? As the church promulgated that, it just caused people to go into the dark corners, right? So that's maybe part of why now that shifting more is coming out. But I also think, as society, as time goes on and we get further and further away from the Bible and that core in our families, there are going to be more and more, of these issues. It's just going to keep growing. The further we get away from the Word, the more trouble,
the darker
struggles we're going to have. Yeah, the darker it gets.
The other question that I have is, as you're looking at this and thinking about the opportunity for the church, it strikes me, working with young people for a long time and just watching society and feeling the effects of things like social media and the online connection. You can text, but we don't do this necessarily. Do we have an opportunity to just simply be a better friend? Has that dynamic of the concept of friendship, has that changed from when you began 30 years ago and the culture that existed in the 90s to what's needed today as people are seeking professional help? Is part of the reason for that. We don't know how to be a really, truly a good friend. Is that an opportunity that exists for us?
I think it's a huge opportunity. right? The desire, the longing that we have for community and connection. It's not good to be alone. God did not create us. I would say God himself is in relationship in himself, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right? This is just a vital part of our essence. And yeah, the world is getting more and more disconnected. And yeah, we're seeing it. And again, as you asked before about, why are there more of these problems? I think that's again, I mean, it's so complex, right?
Yeah,
That's
right,
another issue that's leading to that. And if we can be this warm, open, welcoming, understanding, accepting community, just like Jesus, yeah, I just think there's so much opportunity because people are hungry for that.
And so that's kind of what pulls you into this current season of your life, is that opportunity to help the church at large wrestle with that is there. As we kind of wind down our conversation, the things you're thankful for and the things that you want to leave the people here with. St. Paul's is a unique place. I mean, I'm here because of the permission-giving nature of this, the take a chance nature of things. Here, if it's about getting Jesus to people, what are some of the things that you're thankful for about your time at St. Paul's?
Yeah, I think that the first thing that comes to my mind is the community. It seems from the very start, my wife and I, and we had two kids and a third on the way at that time, just welcomed with open arms. Over the years, that family type of feel, where people are concerned and interested and supportive, it's just only grown. Both my wife and I are so incredibly thankful for that family and for us being able to raise our family in a family like that. The generosity, the support, the encouragement. I feel like people have always been way too generous with their, you do such a great job. It's like, but yeah, it's really amazing and overwhelming. Really appreciate that. I think the other aspect of that community is the staff. What an incredibly blessed congregation we are when we think about the staff. And I've been here 30 years, so there has some staff, the school staff is come and gone, but just always an amazing group of people to work with. I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of volunteers, and to me that has been incredibly rewarding as well, to see them use their gifts and serve God in tremendous ways. So the community is a big part. Another aspect, I think, I'm doing a Dave Keel here with the alliteration, creativity. I feel like this church has given me freedom to take the gifts that I have, the interests, the passions, and to run with them. Like I said, I taught Spanish for a while, I did theater for a while, probably not normal pastoral type of things, but the congregation was very supportive. Using that creativity in worship, I think it blesses the church and God's people. And God is, again, He is creativity. And just look at the world in which we live, the beauty and the design and the diversity in everything. And I think when we utilize that creativity as we seek to glorify Him, that gives Him praise. Really have appreciated that. As a part of that, the ability to help other people kind of see what their strengths and their gifts are, and to help them utilize those. I know there's people who came to me a long time ago. It's like, well, I play guitar and sing, but I don't know if I can do this for church. And then 2 years later, they're leading one of our groups. It's just awesome to see that kind of thing. The third one would be what I call Christ-centered care, and what I mean by that is that this is a church that loves Jesus, that loves the truth of God's word, and it's not just coming from the pastors, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it is coming from the pastors, and that's awesome. But I also see it over and over again in the people. And I can't tell you how many times you go visit someone and they're going through this crisis, right? And inside I'm like falling apart, like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. I'm so sorry. And they're like, it's okay. Christ has got us. That Christ-centered care, I guess, again, something I'm very thankful for, that I was here for 30 years in that type of environment, because I know that it shaped and formed me. But my family was here in that environment, and very, very grateful, very thankful for that.
One question before I wrap us. The drama pieces, and I'm just thinking, in these later years, as you've been going into the counseling pieces of things, we've missed out on some of the preaching, which we've always enjoyed. But Good Friday has been the place where we've looked forward to it, because we get to do something almost every year. We do something a little bit different. Where did that come from? The combination of creativity, theology, drama. Where did the acting and the drama piece come from? Did you have that since you were a little kid?
Yes, as long as I can remember. Yeah, I've been on stage all throughout high school. Yeah, it was there. I know. It's one thing I'm kind of thankful too. That the congregation allowed me to be creative sometimes, because sometimes creativity, it walks a little bit of an edge.
Oh yeah.
And
Yes.
I know some people that maybe weren't always maybe they thought I was going a little too far, and I understand that, right? But still, they loved me. They still had patience with that, and yeah.
We're able to tell a story of the gospel, I think, in ways that it's one of the things I've appreciated about you, particularly when I think about the counseling aspect, especially in these last 8-9 years. And I'm just thinking more specifically about the Good Friday pieces of things, that we're helping our people wrestle well with the weight of the gospel. I think this last one with the hands of Jesus was, out of all ones that we've done, is probably my favorite, and the most pointed, the most direct, of being able to see that. So I can say from all of us, to thank you, that's part of your heart has been to bring us into the woundedness of people, and quite frankly, the woundedness and the healing that exists in God. I mean, God, we wounded him. By his stripes we are healed, and yet it's his stripes that heal us. And somehow you're able to weave that in, particularly effectively in some of those Good Friday services and some of the special services.
Yeah, and this is a great example of how God is working and growing always, right? I feel that so much of that service kind of flowed out of my time with people and their wounds, right? And their struggles and their challenges. Laid the foundation for that message.
Speaking of messages, you'll be not stepping away from here. We will still enjoy your musical accompaniment and your voice and things like that. But you do step out of the day-to-day and the more direct influence on St. Paul's. What are a few things that you would like our people to consider from your heart, things that you've learned over these 30 years that you'd like to keep in front of us? Don't forget these things. Don't lose these things. If you had some of those, what would one or two or three be?
Yeah. I'm gonna alliterate again.
Okay.
The first one I think is love. Christ's call to us to love each other as he has loved us. I feel like, being a part of this congregation for all these years, that this is a congregation that in many ways you see that love. I think of like our Friends in Need Fund, which just always amazes me. I don't know how many people know this, but people who can't afford counseling or don't have insurance, we utilize that Friends in Need Fund. And all these years, it doesn't matter how many people need help. There's always plenty there. But and if a need comes up for someone in the congregation, just like that, God's people at St. Paul's step up. It's beautiful the way that we see that love. And as a pastor who's been able to see things There's a lot more going on behind the scenes that no one even knows. That beautiful love. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. These people are showing Christ's love in their life, and that's my encouragement. That St. Paul's would just continue to be that community of love. And what does that mean? What does that look like? I think as time goes on, we maybe learn that it maybe means something different than we thought in the past, but keep letting God teach us that, right? What does it mean to love and show that love and be that love? The second one is, just to continue being a church that's willing to listen. What I've learned most, I think, through the years is that everyone has a story. So often you come in and you just kind of make an assumption that, oh, this person is doing that because this or that or anything. And there's not a lot of grace many times about when we listen and we hear people's stories, that everyone is dealing with something, some kind of struggle, some kind of challenge. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, I guess I understand why this is happening. I guess it's another extension of loving people by listening to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it helps them understand that they're cared about. They're important. They're worthy. And that's exactly, I can't think of Jesus. He did a lot of talking, but he also did a lot of listening.
Yeah. Right?
So he understood people and could really speak into whatever their needs were. And the last one for me is learn. And I think that,
Says the guy who went back to school.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I am a learner. I love it. It's part of my my makeup. But the first thing I wanted to say about that is, so people will say, oh, Pastor, you taught me so much, right? But I just want to step back and say that this whole church, this whole experience has taught me so much. In counseling, whenever I end a counseling session, again, people are grateful, but what I always say is thank you so much, because through this whole process, you have taught me. I learn and understand more about people, about challenge, about struggle. I'm going into this new endeavor, and I guess I want the people at St. Paul's to know that they're going with me because who I am has been shaped by all of these experiences that I've had with God's people. Whether we're celebrating a marriage and a baptism or whatever it might be, or the death of a cherished son in a motorcycle accident, all of those things. God has used those to shape and form, and I can take that now and utilize that in the work that I'm doing moving forward.
Just because it goes in with the learning, maybe speak into the healing power and the patient power of curiosity. If you're going to listen and you're going to learn and you're going to love, I don't know about you, but it seems to me a big part of that is being curious. Mm-hmm. How do we become a people who, despite the tensions that exist in the world that we face today, social media, politics, religion, all that kind of stuff, how do we remain a people that would be curious about people's stories? What have you learned about curiosity?
I think we wrestle the most with curiosity when we're struggling the most in ourselves. What keeps us from being curious is our own shame, our own defensiveness. Those are the things that, when we hear somebody say something, these things are activated and triggered inside of us. And so all of a sudden it becomes all about us and what we think, what we feel, or that's wrong or whatever. If bring it back to Jesus and feel secure in his love and his forgiveness and his grace, and then I can be more open to, I don't have to be protecting myself all the time. I can be more interested in you and open to you and what's going on inside of you. If I'm more secure in myself, I can let you be you too.
Yeah.
But it's work. It really is. It's probably the biggest thing I work with couples is just being able to truly just step back. Don't worry about. I always say, God will take care of you. Just listen to that person. Find out what's going on. Help them feel settled, healed, or whatever it is, and then you can worry about yourself, right? Like this, that Jesus idea of put others first. I think listening is the ultimate way that we can put others first.
Is there anything that we have not covered that you'd like to say or to talk about?
Again, just the incredible gratitude in my heart for these 30 years, for this family, for people opening up their lives, being able to share with them the joys and some of the most difficult experiences. And I look forward to just seeing, I mean, so much has happened in St. Paul's in these 30 years. God is truly at work, and I'm excited to look forward to seeing what it's going to look like in the years ahead. And I guess one other thing important, because the pastors that have been here for 30 years are leaving. That's kind of hard for a congregation. Maybe a congregation is a little concerned about that. Yeah. God has been here this whole time. He has been working through all of this. And like I said, I feel my path is God driven. So he's already got that figured out too. And it'll be fun and exciting to see who God calls here, and the next step forward for St. Paul's.